Since ancient times, humanity has been occupied with charting the movement of celestial bodies. Our heads have been tilted towards the stars, and our fascination with calculating equinoxes and eclipses and the movements of the sun and the moon has run parallel to the evolution of religion and our understanding of our spiritual life. From the Sumerians to the Egyptians, from the Mayans to the makers of Stonehenge, making sense of the heavens has always been equated, to some degree, with understanding our Creator and His purpose for us. Every flowering of civilization has seen the arrival of its own particular calendar, filled with dates that mark the advent of new revelations, earthly as well as heavenly seasons.
Every religion of the past, it seems, has inaugurated their own calendar and found a way to mark the passing of the seasons and of the years in a way that enables individuals and communities to periodically, relive, maybe reenact the lives of the founders of their faiths.
The establishment of a new calendar is a symbol of the idea that the advent of a new religion is the start of a new cycle of time for humanity. Baha'is now find themselves in a long line of calendar makers, both physical and spiritual. The sun and the moon, the two most obvious objects in the sky, have provided the basis of most calendars. The moon was the easiest on which to base a calendar, because the monthly cycle of the moon is so easily and universally observable. Thus most of the older calendars, especially religious ones, have been based around the moon. A lunar calendar, however, did not help humanity with such questions as when to sow crops.
Moon calendars are notoriously bad at maintaining sun cycles. And what the Christian calendar did, of course, simply took the whole 11 days, which was missing in the 12 moon cycles in a year, and they simply put one day on each month, except for February, to make up the difference. And that's why we have a so-called solar calendar, which historically isn't a solar calendar. It's a solar concession of what used to be a moon calendar.
A purely lunar calendar does not have 365 days. It's about 11 days short. And so in a purely lunar reckoning, the months will drift backwards throughout the years and will no longer keep track of the seasons. For this reason, most ancient cultures, although starting their calendars or having their calendars originally based around a lunar reckoning, will add some solar component to it to keep it anchored to the cycle of the seasons.
So most civilizations adapted the lunar calendar by fixing the new year to start with a solar event, and then fitting the lunar months around that. The Baha'i faith has its own calendar, symbolizing that this is indeed a new day for humanity. The Bab introduced the calendar and its broad pattern of periods and cycles, months and days. The Bab referred to it as the Badi Calendar.
The Badi Calendar is fascinating simply because it is so unique and different from all other calendars. There's nothing like it in the world. Of course, one of the reasons why nothing like it in the world is that it is the first and only calendar which has been revealed. All other calendar systems for all other religions have been taken over.
Badi is a word that means unique. And so this calendar is unique just as the revelation of the Bab is unique.
It is a solar calendar with 19 months made up of 19 days each. That equals 361 days. A number of days varying between 4 and 5, are needed to make this up to a solar calendar, and they are known as the intercalary days, or Ayamiha. Every 19 years is known as a Vahed. Every cycle of 19 Vaheds, in other words, 361 years, is known as a Kuleshe, meaning all things.
So we are now at this moment of the inauguration of this new Baha'i calendar, this unified Baha'i calendar, at the end of the 9th Vahed of the first Kuleshe of the Baha'i dispensation, which is the Baha'i year 171.
As Baha'is, we've become accustomed to thinking of our years as 19 months of 19 days and working within that pattern of social life. We're not yet used to thinking of these 19-year cycles, but this 19-year cycle is really a magical period of time, and it's been known since the time of the Babylonians, actually, and the Greeks had a name for it.
Every 19 years, the solar and lunar cycles align. So as one might expect from the divinely revealed calendar, the Earth, Moon, and Sun, and the stars were in a rare, almost perfect alignment on the day it began, because the equinox and the new moon both happened on that day. So because the Vahed is 19 years, we see the same nearly perfect alignment at the start of each new cycle.
In a way that's beautiful and perfect and elegant.
At sunset on 20th March 2015, the Baha'is of both the East and the West adopted for the first time the provisions that now unite them in the common implementation of the Badi Calendar. During his ministry, Baha'u'llah gave directions for a number of elements in the calendar that had not been specified by the Bab. Further elements of the calendar were elucidated by Abdul Baha, and arrangements for its adoption in the West were put in place at the direction of Shoghi Effendi. But certain ambiguities and unresolved matters surrounding the calendar were left for the Universal House of Justice to resolve. 3 in particular required clarification: determining the exact date of Nowruz, when to celebrate the twin birthdays of the Bab and Baha'u'llah within a solar year, fixing the dates of other holy days. In the questions and answers section appended to the Kitab-i-Aqdas, his most holy book, Baha'u'llah stated that
the festival of Nowruz falleth on the day that the sun entereth the sign of Aries, even should this occur no more than 1 minute before sunset.
This is a reference to the spring equinox, an astronomical event which occurs at one time for all places on Earth.
Given that the equinox is determined by a particular astronomical moment when the Earth is, as it passes around the sun, is not tilted towards or away from the sun, because the Earth has an intrinsic tilt to it, and at 2 points during the year, it's not tilted towards the sun, and so we know that exact moment of the equinox. But if you pick the point on the Earth to be, a point that's in the daylight or a point that's at nighttime, then you're going to end up with a different determination of what the first day of the year is. And so that's why a spot on the globe had to be picked that would determine what day the vernal equinox corresponds to.
In a momentous letter dated 10th July 2014, the Universal House of Justice wrote,
We have decided that Tehran, the birthplace of the Abha beauty, will be the spot on the Earth that will serve as the standard for determining, by means of astronomical computations from reliable sources, the moment of the vernal equinox in the Northern Hemisphere, and thereby the day of Nowruz for the Baha'i world.
The birthplace of Baha'u'llah has thus become the new Baha'i religious meridian. The festivals of the twin birthdays, the birth of the Bab and the birth of Baha'u'llah, have, in the East, been traditionally observed according to their correspondence to the first and second days of Muharram in the Islamic calendar. Baha'u'llah stated that
these 2 days are accounted as one in the sight of God.
Yet a letter, written on behalf of Shoghi Effendi, stated,
In the future, no doubt all of the holy days will follow the solar calendar, and provisions be made as to how the twin festivals will be celebrated universally.
The challenge facing the Universal House of Justice was
how to satisfy the intrinsic lunar character of these blessed days within the context of a solar calendar had been unanswered before now.
The Universal House of Justice has decided that the twin holy birthdays
will now be observed on the first and the second day following the occurrence of the 8th new moon after Nowruz, as determined in advance by astronomical tables using Tehran as the point of reference.
This statement both fixes the place that will determine the occurrence of the twin holy days and rules that it will depend on astronomical tables rather than actual sightings of the new moon, which was the case in the Islamic calendar. The twin birthdays will now move from year to year within the months of Mashiyat, Elm, and Qadrat of the Badi calendar, or from mid-October to mid-November, according to the Gregorian calendar.
With joy and eager anticipation, we look to the upcoming bicentennial anniversaries of the birth of Baha'u'llah and the birth of the Bab in 174 and 176 BE, respectively, which the entire Baha'i world will celebrate according to a common calendar.
It would be nice if we started treating these two as one festival, as it is stated in the Akdas. That is, the festival of the twin birthdays, not simply the twin birthdays. It is one festival. The interesting thing is that it is one festival, and that's going to change the way we view this. It's no longer, first of all, a festival for Baha'u'llah, and then a festival for the Bab, but it's a festival for the Babi Baha'i phenomenon.
The dates of the remaining holy days will be fixed within the solar calendar in accordance with explicit statements of Baha'u'llah, Abdul Baha, and Shoghi Effendi. The start of the year in the Badi calendar is fixed by an astronomical event, and so there is no need for elaborate formulas to determine whether there will be 4 or 5 intercalary days in a given year. The Badi calendar is self-correcting and will always be aligned to the solar year.
The way they implemented this calendar is in many respects ingenious. They managed to guarantee continuity both in the West and in the East as much as possible.
It's a moment that's exciting for the Baha'i community because it's uniting the holy day observances of the Baha'is of the East and the West. It's exciting also because this calendar represents the uniting of religious traditions of the past. It brings together these elements, the solar and lunar elements, this element of the celebration of Nowruz, which are features of religious dispensations of the past. So this whole moment of the inauguration of this new calendar is exciting for these reasons.
It's so exciting to be alive at this moment when the calendar is universally adopted and the Baha'is of the world celebrate the holy days at the same time. It's a privilege that only this generation of Baha'is get to experience.
The adoption of a new calendar in each dispensation is a symbol of the power of divine revelation to reshape human perception of material, social, and spiritual reality. Through it, sacred moments are distinguished, humanity's place in time and space reimagined, and the rhythm of life recast. Next Nowruz will mark yet another historic step in the manifestation of the unity of the people of Baha'i and the unfoldment of Baha'u'llah's world order.